All right. Good morning. Good morning. Quick sound check. Make sure everybody can hear me. Awesome. Good morning, Ray. Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning so far? Trying to make sure. There we go. Loud and clear. That's what I like to hear. So, hope you guys are all having a good start to the day. Got some coffee in you, ready to go for the markets. I think we're gonna have a pretty decent looking trading day so far. We've got about a 17, almost 18 point range so far in the overnight session for the S&Ps, and we got about a 56 point range. Um, sorry, 54 point range, 55 point range in the Nasdaq. Did the math on that one backwards there. So 74.0375s on highs, 73.5950s there on lows. You guys can see what I'm looking at here. I'll pull up my watch list. This was kind of just what I like to take a look at here in the mornings. Kind of see, okay, we got highs here at 28.3175s, lows at 28.14s, and I'll kind of run down through here and start looking at the ranges that we've got for the day. And I'm liking the range that I'm seeing here in the Dow. The Dow's got a really nice range. So far this morning, just a little bit ago here, about 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, had a nice rally to the upside here in the Dow. And it's kind of pushing through those prior highs. So we'll talk about that as we go. My game plan this morning is kind of walk you guys through exactly what I'm going to be looking to do for today. We've got some interesting volatility happening in gold as well that I want to pay attention to. And then we've got some crude oil inventory numbers coming out at 10:30 as well. So I'm going to run through the four main indices, gold and crude. If you guys have any symbols you want me to take a look at, I am here until 9:25 with you guys, so feel free to type those into the chat and I will do so. A McGriddle from McDonald's would be on point right now. I don't know that I can agree with that, unfortunately. I don't think I've ever had a McGriddle from McDonald's, and I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. I can't swing that one. But anyways, taking a look here at the Forex factory here. We really don't have any news coming out today except for kind of that crude oil inventory numbers at 10:30. So just if you are trading crude, keep an eye on that one there at 10:30. And then tomorrow morning, pre-market, if you're in with Perry, we've got some final GDP numbers coming out at 8:30 in the morning. So just keep an eye on that as well. And if you are trading the currencies overnight, looks like there's some New Zealand news coming out at 8 p.m. tonight. So just keep an eye on that if you are trading those markets around that time. All right, so let's jump into it here with the S&Ps. I'm going to go ahead and maximize this sell. And let's go to an hourly chart and kind of take a look and see where we're currently sitting. So right now we've got 28.25 is a print that's currently trading. So about 2 points over yesterday's close. And what I'm going to be watching for today again is, we are still in this, kind of transition period between what could be a downtrend, what could be a new uptrend kind of forming there. So just keep an eye on kind of some choppy action. I thought we had some really good movement happening yesterday. And then after I signed off and started getting into some other things for the day, we started to kind of backslide and slid all the way back down and set up a new buy setup here on the hourly chart. And then we're able to rally that into the close off of a really nice divergence that occurred at 3:30 in the Nasdaq there. So was a really patient day if you were looking for long setups outside of the first morning setup and then the second morning setup around 10:30. Other than that, I think it was kind of a difficult, hard-fought battle to the long side if you were trying to focus on longs for the rest of the day there. We did finally come down, trade some of those support levels, and got a nice reaction off of it. And then same thing happening here so far this morning. So with all of that being said, if I can find my mouse, there it is. I'm going to be looking for a move up into 2830 quarters here today. And then if and when we can get through and push through that level, get some confirmation closes above that point, then I'll be looking at continued higher prices. That will, and in this scenario that we have right now, that will confirm the new uptrend. We will have officially ended this downtrend that we started last Thursday, or I guess last Friday technically there, and be off to the races and run into the upside. And I think that's going to kind of lead us up into that gap area above from the Thursday night to Friday open later here into the rest of the week. So I've been talking about swing trades to the long side here since Monday. The Russell here is currently up about 30 points or so from 34 points or so off of those lows from Monday, and the rest of the markets are kind of moving along with that as well. So I'm going to stick with that continued bias here to the upside, unless something in this changes, which would be a move back down through 28.1075s. So I'm not really looking for short side trades unless the S&Ps crack under 28.1075s there, either today or tomorrow or some point during this week. That'll change the overall hourly bias here on the S&Ps. Moving on to the Nasdaq here, I want to take a look. So 73.84s. We got a kind of interesting little setup here. So Nasdaq yesterday, you can take a look just on this hourly chart. You can kind of see this prior bar right here, this red bar that I'm talking about, doesn't actually, and I'll just put a little oval right here or something like that. So you guys can see this wick did not actually trade above the first hour range there. And if we look at the S&Ps, you can see that the S&Ps actually did get new highs in this second hour of the day. So there was a divergence that set up there yesterday where S&Ps, Russell, and Dow all got new highs. There were signals in both the Russell and the Dow, and the Nasdaq could not quite get the move up to those new highs. So something I'm going to be paying close attention to today, kind of as we push up into, or if we push up into these higher time frame resistance levels up here, kind of 74.19 and the 28.30s we were just talking about there in the S&Ps, is that all of the markets are moving together. I was looking for that yesterday to get the rally, which ended up happening, pretty much right off the open there, and then on the pullback at 10:30. So I want to see that stays true today as well, because this divergence is what led to the sell-off from yesterday, right? And let's see here. You guys can see, let me see. One second. I gotta pull up this other grid so you guys can see it here and make it a little bit easier. All right, there we go. Oh, still too small, too big. There we go. All right, so you guys can see this here. This is where that divergence came into from yesterday. We were about 7 points away from getting those targets there on the trade yesterday in the Dow 25.829s. Highs there traded 822s. You can see there is a signal here in both the Russell and the Dow. S&P's got new highs as well, and the Nasdaq here in the top right just did not, or was not able to get up through and get those new highs. So that's what ended up leading to that sell-off yesterday. And I mentioned this in the chat here because I ended up exiting that Dow position here as we started kind of breaking down here under 25.797. So if you're in the Discord, I did punch that in yesterday. And those are, even though this doesn't technically trigger, just the fact that we've got three markets that were able to get those new highs, the Nasdaq was not able to, and then that just led us into a downslide for the rest of the day. So keep that in mind for today. If you do see a price divergence set up like that, and if you have the indicator and we get signals up there, it's going to be oops, that's interesting. So I'm getting an unexpected error has happened. Restart my toss. Let's see if I can just like exit this. We'll ignore that error message for now. Should be a smart decision. All right, so if you guys see something like that happen today, just keep in mind and be cautious of that if and when it does happen. So going back to the Nasdaq though, maybe if we can find an entry today into the Nasdaq, I like a move up into 74.19 quarters, and then once we're through 74.19 quarters, like I said, I think we're in kind of no man's land, and we just get this move up into 75.43 quarters. Now, I'm going to give one area of kind of caution right here that I'm going to be looking to kind of base a little bit of a bullish above, bearish below kind of line in the sand here. And that's going to come in at 73.8875s. And that's essentially where the Nasdaq on this pullback should have tried to hold. In fact, if you look at the construction of these candles, and then just was not able to do so. And if we turn on, 5-minute chart here and go to the extended session, you can see that this level is coming into play here now. We've rallied up here. We got a tick away from it. We rallied into it. Base, pull back to the tick there, went higher, pulled back to it, and then now on this rally back here from the morning, we're right back up into that level of 73.8875s. So in a picture perfect scenario, if I can get an entry somewhere right around that level on a push through and a pullback or something, let's say we open currently right at 83.75s, market open right now, I want to see a push through that 88.75s, a pullback to get long, and then first targets kind of up into 74.19 quarters. So that's my initial game plan here when it comes to the Nasdaq. I'm going to use the 73.8875s as kind of that basis for what trade I may or may not be able to get in the Nasdaq this morning. So going to be paying close attention to that one right off the open. It's just so happens to be lining up with some resistance we're hitting in the pre-market session. And I do think if we can push through that, it'll be a little bit more aggressive right after the bell. So I'm going to be paying attention to that one really, really closely. Now, normally I would have a little bit of caution here with the Nasdaq, given the fact that yesterday it was unable to get those new highs. And that was the reason that I brought this up here. As a segue into talking about the Russell and the Dow, because I actually do prefer the Dow on long side trades today more so than the Nasdaq, just based on this price divergence that we talked about a few minutes ago here in the Nasdaq. So moving over into the Russell here, Russell currently sitting about right where it closed at here, down 5 ticks or so there. Russell's got a really solid resistance and support level if we can break above at 1535.40s there. So we've currently traded that in the overnight session. Again, overnight highs in the Russell are 1536.80s. So we pushed through that by about 1.5 points or so, and kind of backslid throughout the rest of the night, and now starting to come back up into that level. So if the Russell can clear that level, then I think we've got a lot of potential upside to go in the RTY in the Russell. So I do think that is going to have some type of impact today, or maybe vice versa, where crude oil will have some impact on the Russell as well. So my personal opinion on this and the way that I want to play it is I'm going to leave the Russell to itself up until about 10:30. And then once the announcement for crude oil inventories numbers comes out, then I'll start looking at the Russell for a potential trade setup based off this 1535.40 level. Now, the Dow here, the Dow is the trade that I actually like here. Those 25.829s I think should in fact trade today. They should have traded yesterday, and I'm a little bit biased in that just because I wanted the extra 7 ticks here to take me out of my trade. So the Dow owes me, I like to say, for today, but not really. I'm not going to be bullheaded with this. I really do like the Dow from a swing perspective. You know, you've got a lot of bad news coming out for Boeing, and you know, it's kind of put a little bit of pressure here on the Dow. And I do think that Boeing has kind of found a short-term bottom in this area and could get a rally back up into 400s. So I really like the way that the charts are set up and the way that the Dow is trading. So I do want to have a good focus on that one today. And the main level here is going to be 25,783s. So about 50 points through the overnight highs so far for the Dow. And you can see we're currently up about 5-6 points here in the Dow from the closing basis there. So what I'm going to do in the Dow is I'm going to use the opening print. Like, I don't have any levels right here around where we're currently trading at. So what I'm going to end up doing is using the opening print as my bullish above, bearish below kind of line in the sand for the Dow. So if we open right here at 25,683s where we're currently printing at, that's going to be the level I use. The Nasdaq was able to give, the 73.88.75 level, which I'll be using, but the Dow doesn't have that level. And I do like the construction in here more so than the other markets. And again, the same can be said about the Dow from yesterday and Monday, not getting those new lows when the rest of the markets were doing so. So if you guys have the 4-grid chart, if you look at the 1530 bar from yesterday, that was a new low in the Nasdaq when none of the other markets were getting new lows, right? So again, Nasdaq was not getting new highs yesterday when everything else was, and then it was getting new lows when nothing else was towards the end of the day there. So in my mind, Nasdaq's a little bit weaker on the day. It does have a little bit of a different level we can pay attention to, but I really do like the Dow over the Nasdaq in the current landscape, which is not very typical for me. So moving over into gold, I saw a couple questions in the chat this morning with regards to Nadex and the gold. Well, so gold's rolling over, and that's the reason the Nadex charts aren't going to line up. The price quotes aren't going to line up with the current M19 contract. We are rolling over in the gold markets, M19s here, and that's coming off of the I think J19s, right? No. Yeah, or K19s. Coming off the K19s. So M19s are the active contract. They've got 64 days left to go on that one. And those are the ones that you're going to be wanting to pay attention to here is the M19 contract. And then Nadex will end up rolling over here sometime this week. So if you want to trade gold for Nadex, then you're going to have to take a look at those K19s and just type that into your ticker symbol. So /GC K19 will get you guys the accurate quotes there to match Nadex. Now, again, I have not traded gold yet. I'm still under the belief and thinking that it's going to roll over here. I have not put any positions on just yet. I am going to be continuing to keep it on watch today just because it has this rollover, and I want to start to see what it is doing for this week. All right, so gold there, and taking a look at crude oil here. Nadex shows GC as the April contract, which is, okay, so that's the J19 then. Okay, perfect. Appreciate that. So yeah, J19, which only has a day to go. So that's probably going to end up rolling tomorrow. They won't necessarily have a choice in that. All right, so moving here over into crude oil. We tried a long yesterday in crude oil that did not end up working out. But overall, I still like this kind of crude oil trade here to the upside. We've got 61.40 targets coming in somewhere up in here, and let's see there. 61.48s there, and small levels at 60.97s. So I'm going to be paying attention to this after 10:30. I'm not going to be putting positions on in this prior to 10:30, but after the crude oil inventory numbers come out, if we are up over the 60.32 level now, then I'll be looking at this to establish a long side trade again if we can get proper risk reward ratio, because again, the targets on this are about $1.20 higher. And if we can get, good risk reward ratio on that, it is a trade that I do want to take in the crude oil market. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. Again, though, that's going to be after 10:30 when the crude oil inventory numbers come out. So anyways, that's what I got for you guys this morning. We got about 3 minutes to go here until 9:25. If you have any symbols you want me to take a look at, feel free to go ahead and punch those in the chat. But at 9:25, I do have to cut the stream off so I can get ready to stream live with you guys for the morning power hour with all of you guys in the Discord. And that's where you guys get to see and listen to me for another hour, sometimes even longer if you're lucky, trading live with you guys each and every day. So if you have some symbols, feel free to go ahead and drop those in there. And if not, I will go ahead and shut this down and get ready for the morning there. We're starting to pop up a little bit there in the Nasdaq. 86.75 is printing, so most likely going to get the push kind of up through these 88.75s. And I do want to go ahead. I may actually put a position on here in pre-market. We'll see here. We got a couple minutes to go till the bell. All right, no symbols anybody wants me to look at? Going once. Going twice. Yeah, Dudley, it is live during market hours. It is 9:24 in the morning at the moment. Awesome, sounds good. I'll listen to Lou. Gonna cut this off now, guys. I do this every morning, 9 o'clock Eastern. So if you have not already, click that subscribe button and the little bell so you guys can get notified when we go live. If you haven't joined the MLT Discord, that's going to be the first link in the description below. And I'll see you guys back in just a few minutes for the morning power hour.